Good morning, all. Whoop, something in progress? Mm. Oh, recording. That's fine. Okay, lovely. Got it. Okay, good morning, all. I'm very pleased to be with you again this morning. And I also, like many of you, was rushing. I was rushing to get here this morning. And so my body and my mind would really like some quiet before we try to work on any new material. So let's just begin with some breathing and some bringing ourselves into this moment, letting go of the meeting we were in at 9 o'clock and the hassle we had this morning getting to work. Let's just come and be present right now with this moment. Just settling comfortably. Just noticing your breath, not trying to control it, just watch it. Don't need to judge it, just name it. Hurried, quiet. In my case, because I've been ill, rattly, just notice how your breath is and be with it. And if it would feel good to you to take a slightly deeper inhale and longer out breath for a couple of breaths, just do so. What happens then is that our signals to our brain that tell us really whether things are bad or things are okay, the signals actually change because we change the balance in our blood gases. And so on a very, very basic physiological level, taking the deeper in-breath and the longer, slowed down out-breath really calms us. Staying just with the breath if you can. Just our breath. How the belly rises. How the chest expands slightly against the inner upper arms. The slight differences in temperature of the inhale and the exhale. Coming into this space where there is nothing to do, no one to see, no one to even be, just in this space. For some of us, watching the breath is almost a physiological, anatomical event, sort of visualizing one's notion of the internal body. For other people, that's not at all soothing. And it might be that sometimes, if it's hard to stay right on the breath, You might just choose to visualize a favorite place, a lakeside, a forest, a mountain, a farm, your back porch. And if it's a very soothing place to you and it's hard to keep your focus on the breath, just try to get a clearer and clearer picture of that wonderful calming space and examine the picture in minute detail along with your breathing. Sometimes also, I find if I've been harried or distracted and it's hard to stay present, that I will count my breaths. In, 1 on the out breath. In, 2 on the out breath. Just play a bit with what helps you stay comfortably in this moment. When a thought comes, just notice it and let it move on through, returning to your calming image or to your breath. And now take just a moment to move a moment and come back to our group mentally. So we're going to slow it down a little bit today. But I want us to have the tools so that next week, when we're not doing this, you have some tools to work with. And so I want to return, and we don't need to, yes, we can, Carolyn, we can go to this last slide for Wednesday, the slide right before the first Thursday slide. And it's the one with the quote from Viktor Frankl. I have it numbered as 7. I want to return to that quote for a minute and just make a distinction so that we, in any moment, can make a distinction for ourselves. Going to distinguish between a reaction and a response. So Frankl's quote is, between stimulus and response, there is a pause. In that space is our power to choose our response. In that response lies our growth and our freedom. So essentially, a reaction, as I'm defining, and it's pretty common, often happens when we're acting mindlessly. We are reacting. We put our hand on the hot stove and we pull it back. That's a reaction. And what we would like in our day-to-day, particularly in interactions, we would like to actually have a mindful action in the face of a stimulus. We would like a response, not a reaction. So, how do we get a response? A response, let's say um, our boss calls and says, "Could you come into my office right now?" Well, the first thing that happens internally is, "Oh, what did I do now?" I'm being a little dramatic here, but okay, what did I do now? And our heartbeat starts to uh, uh, speed up, and we start to breathe a little bit with difficulty, and we have all of these images and fictions about what's going to happen. If we can just, in response to that that change in our body, in response to that heart rate sort of speeding up, if we can step back with a conscious breath into the space, breathing, noticing what bodily sensations we have, naming them. Oh, ooh, this is making me anxious. What that does is something very powerful in our central nervous system. We move from a real primitive reaction center, that fight, flight, freeze, or faint place, to our, our upper brain centers, to our forebrain centers, where we can problem solve, where we have discernment, where we can choose a response with finesse. So often we have the immediate reaction internally. Ooh, my heart rate's up. Ooh, I'm tensing all of a sudden. And then we can notice that. We notice it before we can even name it. We just notice it because we've been practicing mindfulness. And we start to breathe with it. And then we maybe can name it. Ooh, Sometimes you can only say, whoa, my nervous system is going. You don't even know whether it's fear or anger or what, but you can feel it. And step back with your breath. And then you can choose a response. So that's why, on a daily basis, if we can set aside some time for the formal practice of mindfulness, it might be 5 minutes every morning. Set your timer and breathe. Or it may be only, and this is excellent, it may be only those times where your cues arise. You're starting your car, you're stopping at a red light, you're stepping into the restroom at work, you are doing a certain maneuver with your computer, going into a meeting or leaving a meeting, let's say. And there you stop and do your mindful breaths. That active practice then allows us at other times to just find the space, not automatically, but it allows us to much more likely catch our bodily cues that say, whoo, I'm about to be reactive because I'm reacting in my body, and to help ourselves slow it down and choose how it is we want to respond. Uh, this doesn't happen overnight. Usually, for folks, we can look back on a situation and say, oh, I was aware of my heart beating as I started out of my office. I could feel my heartbeat in my chest. If I could have just paused there and breathed some quiet and space for myself. then I could have gone in with an open and curious mind to the meeting. If something not pleasant is going to happen, it is going to happen. But why do we go in assuming it's going to happen if we don't have to? Just go in being open and curious and available to the next step. Uh, so we can move to the next. We can move to the next slide. Excuse me, I have to close my door. I'll be right back. People moving around in my house. So one of the things that helps us if we're trying to learn these processes is to pick out the places where we have frequently had a little difficulty and just do a little practice. Just do a bit of practice because we know that that particular situation or that particular person, meeting with that person often results in some irritation, distress on our part. And so we can just sort of practice facing that ahead of time. And I don't mean that we can practice it perfectly because we don't know what's going to happen. But we can just begin to say, okay, I just need to breathe and stay with my breathing as I go into this situation. Now, like I said, often we realize after the fact that we wish we had done something different. And let me just give you one example. I would often get very overextended at work. Someone would call and say, Harriet, could you really head up this X, Y, or Z, or could you work on whatever? And I consciously want to be helpful and want to do the best I can at work. And so often I would say, yes, of course I will do that. Get off the telephone or have responded to an email and then sit there and feel my body tense up. How am I going to get all this done? I can't do what I'm already committed to right now. So do realize that if you leave the situation and you kind of look back on it and wish you had been different, then it's perfectly fine to respond with something like, I've been actively working lately to really be assertive about only working on what I really think I can do well. And so I know I told you a couple of hours ago that I could do this work, but actually I have to say no at this point. Hopefully later I can. So it's fine to use our burgeoning awareness after the fact if we didn't use it right at the time. Now, tomorrow we're going to just practice some, what's the word I want to use? Categories of responses that you can sort of have in your backpack so that you've said them out loud to yourself. You've crafted them in your own words because my words won't work for you. You'll craft them in your own words. And we'll just tuck them in so that we have them when we get in a stressful situation. So it's a little rehearsal to get kind of ready, but the main rehearsal is going back to our breath and removing ourselves just a bit, getting just a bit of objectivity and calmness to see the situation more clearly. They say, and I believe it, that we become more wise as we practice mindfulness because we can see the situations that we are in and ourselves more clearly. The other thing I will say to you that will happen is that we quit taking ourselves so seriously. If what you're learning to do is say, oh, there I go, being critical again. Well, you would think I could not be doing that, but I'm probably going to do that all my life. And you giggle a little bit. That's just who I am, being critical in my mind. What a nice, light way to be in the world. So it will help us that way too. So that's enough of my chatter because I'd like for us to go back and sit. And I'll be fairly quiet this time so that you can find your own ways to saying, oh, where's my mind? It's wandered. Let it come back to the breath. Again, just finding a really comfortable place. Sometimes you want to be erect because you want to leave your practice feeling very alert and energized. Other times you may want to be relaxed against your chair. But however, arms and legs supported, and bringing your attention to your breath just as it is now. As you're breathing, you will notice thoughts, sounds, moving through. Just let them move on through, clearing the space to just be breathing. In these last few moments of this sitting, let's take a scan of our physical body, realizing that on the in-breath, we can invite the body to loosen and soften, to relax. And on the out-breath, we can just let go of tension or discomfort. And with this breath, bringing your attention to your feet and lower legs. the toes, the soles of your feet, ankles, the calves, the shins. Just breathing all the way down into the feet and lower legs and back up from them. Bringing in oxygen and warmth and comfort. And breathing out any tension, coldness, discomfort. And with this breath dropping the attention to the lower legs and coming to the upper legs and the pelvis. Our great strong muscles, the skin, the internal organs, reproductive and digestive. Just being present with this very powerful part of our body. Strong muscles in our legs and belly. Just breathing into the area and up from the area, allowing any discomfort or tightness to resolve if it will. And now bringing your attention to your upper trunk, your chest and heart area, your thoracic area, and to your arms and hands. These areas of your body that work for you every day. A beating heart, a breathing lung, fingers and thumbs, and a grasp to shake hands and hold your loved ones, to hug. And just breathing down into your arms, into your chest, and back up from those areas. Just allowing the nourishing oxygen to flow through your arms, your chest, your back. And letting go of those areas in your mind's eye and bringing your attention to your head, neck, and upper shoulders. That area where many of us can carry tension. And just breathing into even your hair follicles on your head and to the back of your neck and your throat. And breathing out from those areas. Just letting the breath flow through as if it's flowing through every part of your brain and your sinuses, your ears, all your sensory organs. Nourishing. And now, if it feels good to you for the last few breaths of our session, imagine that you're breathing in through your feet, the bottoms of your soles, breathing up into your trunk, and then out through your upper chest and your head, almost as if you have the blowhole of a whale at the top of your head. Breathing in through your feet and letting the breath travel up and exhaling out through the upper chest and the head. Just feeling that wave of breath washing through your body, cleansing, calming, healing. And you may now give yourself a sort of personal goal for the day to allow this feeling of calm to move with you through the day, for greater focus, for greater gentleness and kindness. And as you are ready, you may move about and hold whatever breathing that felt good to you with you today. And just as you are ready to leave, it is fine. You can just sit for a while longer um, if your schedule permits. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.